Hi loves, welcome back to my channel. So today we are talking about what not to do when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, or you're having like a high stress, high anxiety moment and it kind of sneaks up on you, or maybe it's been there all the time, and this will help you figure out what you don't want to do when you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious. In my last video I talked to you guys about the difference between self-care and treating yourself, something that I felt like it was really key to tell you before I talked about this. So I hope that you're kind of seeing this as a little bit of a syllabus, a guide, not necessarily a course, not including everything that you need to know, but I'm hoping that you're getting where I'm going with the reboot, the finding your tools, the difference between self-care, treating yourself, and now talking about what not to do when you're feeling anxious. And then after this video, we are going to start to dive into the tools and talk about each one individually and how you can utilize that tool and start to develop a practice with that tool. So, first things first though, what not to do when you are feeling anxious or overwhelmed. The first thing is know your triggers. So this isn't something that's not to do, but this is just something for you guys to note. You want to make sure that you know your triggers. Now these are really hard to discover and you're not going to know every single one of your triggers. I still learn my triggers every now and again, what causes my anxiety, but I know generally what causes my anxiety. And if you're somewhere where something's happening, or you're watching a movie, or there's a situation happening where it's causing you to feel anxious and feel triggered, and it's kind of sneaking up on you, definitely leave, okay? You don't need to be there. Definitely something not to do is stick it out. It's okay to leave, and it's okay to do what's best for you and your anxiety. You don't have to just stick it out and be brave through it all the time. So, knowing, learning, being aware of your triggers, and then don't feel like you have to stick it out, okay? Another one of the things that you shouldn't do, watch really intense movies, things that are going to make you anxious. Read a really intense book, like a murder mystery, something that might make you really, really anxious and might ramp up that anxiety. The next thing is don't spend time with people who don't understand. I mentioned this when I talked about finding your tools, about how it's good to spend time with people who do understand. It goes the same direction with don't spend time with people that don't understand where you're coming from, don't understand what they can do for you, can't help you, because that might make you more anxious. It might make you feel like an outcast. It might make you feel unwelcome. It might make you feel uncomfortable. So that's something that you definitely don't want to do. Another thing is don't push your limits, you guys. Like I said, you don't have to just stand there and grin and bear it. You can leave. If it's pushing your limits, take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. You can't love other people. Self-love, self-care is number one. You have to make sure that you're doing the best you can for yourself every single day. So you do not push your limits. Know your triggers, and then be aware of them. One of the biggest things that I can tell you not to do is to not make any big life decisions. This includes, but is not limited to, getting married, getting divorced, buying a house, getting a dog, quitting your job, amongst a lot of other life decisions, moving. Big life decisions that you can make. When you are feeling really anxious, when you're feeling really overwhelmed, use your tools. Don't make big life decisions, okay? Just don't. Wait till it calms down, because you're super emotional, you're hyper emotional, and you're really sensitive to anything that's going to cause more anxiety. And when you make big life decisions, that generally causes even more anxiety, and it's not something that you want to do when you're feeling this way. So, that's the next one. Do not give up. Do not ever give up. I had a poster in college and in high school that hung on my wall that said never ever ever give up, and it is a Charlie Brown quote, and I was proud of that. I had Charlie Brown on the front and it was my mantra. Never ever ever give up. I don't believe in giving up. I don't believe in giving up on yourself. I don't believe in giving up on other people, on dreams. I think we should strive every day to go after the life that we want to live and be the people that we want to be, and that means that you are never allowed to give up, okay? The next thing that you don't want to do is ignore it. Whatever you do, do not ignore your anxiety. It will not get better. First of all, anxiety really doesn't let you ignore it, but if you try to stifle it, if you try to come up with reasons as to why you could be having it, and you're just making it worse, right? I did that for a long period of time in my life where I thought, this can't be my anxiety, something's wrong with me, and it's your anxiety that's making you think something's wrong with you, first of all. but don't ignore it. Focus on using your tools, using the things we've already talked about to really bring yourself back to life, bring yourself back to the ground, and understand your anxiety, accept your anxiety. That's something that's so hard to do and we will talk about in the future, but you have to accept it as part of who you are, not as this terrible thing that you need to get rid of, and learn how to deal with it, but do not ignore it. That will never make it better. The next thing is don't hyper focus on the future. One of the big things that people who experience anxiety probably experience is this feeling of like grandeur, right? And not in a good way. Like this feeling of I'm doomed forever. Like I'm going to feel this way forever. I'm never going to feel better. Like what if something happens to me? What if this gets worse? What if I feel worse when I wake up tomorrow? And it's that like cycle of thoughts that happens that ends up making us more anxious and sicker to begin with. So do not hyper focus on the future. All of this I understand is easier said than done, but these are all things that you need to know, and I will obviously have them listed in the description bar so that if this starts happening to you, you can say, wait a minute, Abby told me not to do that. I know that it's my anxiety. I'm not going to let my anxiety win. I'm going to fight my anxiety, and I'm going to know that this is something that my anxiety is trying to trigger, that it's trying to do to me, and I'm not going to do that. Okay, so fight back by not doing these things, okay? That's one of the ways that you fight your anxiety. And the last one is to not get carried away. This goes with the don't hyper focus on the future. Don't get carried away, thinking that something terrible is going to happen to you, that something is going to happen, or that you're going to feel this way forever, you're going to be anxious forever, and you're going to live an anxious life. I mean, these are all thoughts that a lot of people with anxiety have, and I myself have had at different times in my life. And just slow down, breathe, call on your tool, and recognize that anxiety is temporary. That is one of the best pieces of advice that I can give you. Anxiety is not permanent, and it will not kill you. I'm going to repeat that. Anxiety is not permanent, and it will not kill you. Anxiety is a feeling, and the power of your brain, the power of your mind, of your thoughts, of your ability to fight your anxiety is what is going to make you feel better. So don't do any of those things I just said. Instead, I want you to breathe. Take a big deep breath. Even count if you need to. Even if the breath isn't helping, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. Slow down. Slow down. Maybe you actually need to physically stop and sit down and just take a few deep breaths. Call on your tool. Go exercise. Go be in nature. Go talk to your mom, somebody who understands what you're going through. Maybe go to a yoga class. Something that you recognize, maybe meditate, that you recognize is good for anxiety and that works for you. And then remember that anxiety is temporary. And there are meditations you can do that focus on the fact that anxiety is temporary. And man, I cannot wait to do that video for you guys so I can talk all about meditation and how it has changed me and the apps that I would recommend and fun stuff like that. So that is going to be coming up, so stay tuned for that. But don't let these things run the way that you function. But whenever you're feeling that overwhelming, anxious feeling, don't do these things. And if you do find yourself doing them, remember I told you not to do them. And why did I tell you not to do them? Because anxiety is not permanent. Anxiety is temporary. And you can fight back your anxiety by remembering that these things we just talked about aren't going to help you. They're only going to hurt you and make your anxiety worse. So practice what we already talked about. We're going to get into more tools in the next video series that's coming for you guys. Again, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you feel compelled to share this message, if you feel like somebody needs to hear it, please do so. I would love it if we can help as many people as possible. Give this video a thumbs up if you guys liked it. Have an amazing day. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah.